Hi there! Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Julie DiMatteo from thepaperpixie.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this double folded box. It is such a cool box. It looks like it's one box, but then when you open it, it's actually two boxes in one. I have a sweet sentiment hidden here on the bottom of the box. Its finished dimensions are 2 inches by 2 inches by 2 inches, and the interior boxes are 2 inches by 2 inches by 15/16, so just under an inch. I'd like to give a shout out to German demonstrator Birgit Seidler from Stempelbund for the inspiration for this project. I pixified the measurements a little bit because I didn't want the two interior boxes to be fighting for space, and I just love the way that it turned out. This would be really great for 2 tea lights. You could fill this with Ghirardelli squares or sweet little gifts in each box. It's just a really cool, different kind of box, the double folded box. So let me show you how to make it. I'm going to start with a piece of Misty Moonlight that measures 6 3/8 by 9 1/2. And on the 6 3/8 inch side, I'm going to use the paper trimmer for this because we're going to be doing some 1/16 of an inch increments here. And again, that's to make sure that those two boxes fold into the box without fighting for space. So on the short side, the 6 3/8 inch side, we're going to score this at 2 15/16, which is just 1/16 before 3, 4 15/16, just before 5, and then 5 7/8. We're going to turn it to the long side. I'm going to turn it counterclockwise so that 1/2 inch section is along the bottom. And then we're going to score this at 15/16, which is just before 1, 2 15/16, just before 3, 4 15/16, which is just before 5, 6 15/16, just before 7, and then 8 15/16, which is just before 9. Now we're going to bring the paper trimmer back in just a minute, but let me get it out of the way. The next thing we're going to do is fold and burnish on all the score lines. It's easier to do this step now before we start to cut away some pieces. All right, now bringing in the template here, I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way. So we've got our 2-inch section along the top. Now what we're going to do is bring in the paper trimmer, and I'm going to make some cut marks in this section and in this section. Now you could score these and then cut with your scissors, but I'm going to show you a faster way to just cut with the paper trimmer. Then we'll be well on our way. So bringing the paper trimmer back in, I've got this in landscape with the 2-inch section at the top, the 1/2 inch section at the bottom. I'm going to line up the left edge at 3 7/8, and I'm going to make a cut, but I don't want to cut this section up here. So I'm going to slide up my cutting blade to the 2-inch mark, and you can see that right here on the cutting arm, or you can also eyeball it and look at your score line that goes right here at the 2-inch mark, and we're going to cut down. Then I'm going to slide this to 4 inches, and we're going to repeat the same thing, bringing up our cutting blade to 2 inches, and then cutting down. So you can kind of see we've cut this little 1/8 of an inch strip here. Then we're going to slide this down to 7 7/8 and do the same thing, only we only need to cut once here, like so. So then what you have is you've got 2 cuts here. Again, they started at the 2-inch mark, and then just 1 cut here. All right, so now I'm going to turn the template upside down. We're going to start in this section because it is the easiest. So again, I'm going to turn it this way. We've got that 1/8 of an inch cut thing towards the top and that single cut here. I am going to take my paper snips and I'm going to come in all the way to where that cut line ends and remove this whole section here in the lower left, like so. Okay. Then we're going to cut up each of these vertical score lines, stopping at that first horizontal score line. We're going to remove this outer corner here, and I'm also going to come in and miter cut just a little bit. I'm going to fold one of those tabs out of the way. We're going to remove this whole section. And then if I turn it a quarter turn back, what we're left with are these 2 tabs. Now I'm going to come in and miter cut those, just folding cardstock out of the way so I can get to them easier. All right, so this section is mostly done. Now let's turn it this way, and I'm going to focus on, this is one of the boxes. So this is technically the top of one of the interior boxes. This section down here is the bottom of it. I'm going to fold most of this out of the way and remove this 1/8 of an inch strip, also cutting up that vertical score line, stopping at that first horizontal. So we got rid of this piece. Then we're going to cut up again each of those vertical score lines, stopping at the horizontal score line. We're going to remove this lower corner and also come in and miter. This will look familiar if you're used to making boxes. We've got this little 1/2 inch tab. This is going to be how we adhere the box together, and we've mitered on either side of that. I'm going to turn it back this way. This is the section we're working on now. So we're going to leave those 3 sections, but on the 2 square sections, we're going to turn those into tabs. So I'm just folding stuff out of the way here to isolate those tabs, and then I'll come in and miter cut those. All right, so that section is done. Now we're going to focus on the bottom here. I'm going to cut up each of the vertical score lines here on the bottom to start, stopping at that first horizontal score line. Again, I'm going to come in and remove this little 1/2 inch section, also miter cutting as well. I'm going to remove this 2 inch section and this 2 inch section. So I'm just going to come in and cut, then fold out of the way what I don't want to cut, and then cut again this next 2 inch section. So then what we're left behind here are just the 2 tabs. I'm going to come in and miter cut those. Bottom part is done here, and this is now technically the top of the other box. So again, on this bottom section, I'm going to cut up each of the vertical score lines, stopping at the horizontal score line. We're going to remove this corner section, also come in and miter. Then we're going to miter cut these 2 tabs. All right, so let's lay this out on the template here. That is pretty good to go. We're going to round these corners in a bit, but the next thing we're going to do is adhere some designer series paper. We're going to use the Flowers for Every Season designer series paper. I have 5 pieces that measure 1 7/8 by 1 7/8 and 4 pieces that measure 13/16 by 1 7/8. And 13/16 is just 1 tick mark more than 3/4. If you had a directional pattern, you'd want to make sure that these were cut in portrait mode, and then we'll want to make sure that we adhere these in the right direction if it had a directional pattern. I just want to focus on one box at a time. That will help with your directional patterns. And let's just say this was directional. We would want, this is the top of this box, and we'll want all of these pieces all along here to go top to bottom. So I'm just going to lay these 2 out, the square ones, and then the 2 narrower pieces. I'm going to glue all of these down using multi-purpose liquid glue. All right, now I'm going to rotate it this way, and we're going to focus on the next box. Again, this is the top. So then our pieces are going to lay out like so. And I'll adhere those with multi-purpose liquid glue. And then finally our 5th square piece. If this were directional, we want it to go top to bottom, and we're going to adhere it here because the box is then going to fold down like so. So we want this to be top to bottom. All right, so I'm going to bring in the detailed trio punch, and we're going to go ahead and round the corners of the top part of the box here. Just fold everything out of the way so you get a nice flat edge. And then I've got the retired 1/2 inch circle punch. You can grab any sort of rounded punch that you have. And the section that is opposite the top closure, we want to punch a little finger notch. And I'm going in about 1/3 of the way into that circle punch, so we get a little finger notch right here. Okay. Now, one more thing, we're going to do a little bit of stamping, and I'll quickly talk about the bundle we're using. We're using the Delicate Petals bundle. It can be found on page 57 of the January to June 2021 mini catalog. Love this stamp set. We're going to use the sentiment, "Thank you for your kindness." And this is the die set that comes with it. It's got such great detailed dies. You can make some really beautiful flowers and things with this. I'll bring this back in a moment because I'm going to show you how we die cut the flowers. I'm grabbing a scrap of basic white cardstock. We're going to stamp in Magenta Madness ink the sentiment, "Thank you for your kindness." I'm going to punch that out with the retiring 1.5 inch circle punch. And then we're going to adhere this on the back side or the inside of the box, the side that does not have the designer series paper, so the opposite side of that. And with the box in this orientation where you have the rounded flap at the top, this is the direction we'll do the sentiment. All right, so now it is time to put this box together, keeping it this way, looking at the back side. I'm going to start on the top box here. I'm going to fold on the second score line from the left, and then I'm going to come in with liquid glue right on that little 1/2 inch tab. And then I can fold on the first score line from the right, and that should line right up with the score lines. Everything is totally flat here. Now I can kind of flip this back. Let's focus on this box. Same thing, fold on the second score line from the left, glue on the tab, and then we're going to fold everything from the first score line on the right and just press everything flat into place. All right, now one box at a time, I'm going to kind of fold these back here so I can get at these boxes easier. Let's start with the one on the left. I'm going to fold in the 2 tabs, and we'll put liquid glue on those tabs. You definitely want to put the glue on the tabs as opposed to this front flap because the tabs don't quite meet together. So we don't want glue to go where we don't want it to go. And I'm just kind of folding things on the bottom so I get a flat surface there. Folding that tab over or that flap over. And then I am just squaring up with my fingers the bottom of that box. I will flip it over this way and press with my glue bottle on the inside to get that to adhere. So that box is done. Now we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side here, folding those tabs in, putting liquid glue on them. Then again, getting myself a flat surface here, folding that flap over, squaring everything up. Then we can come in and press with our glue bottle from the inside. And now is for the amazing magic part. So those 2 boxes are going to fold up. We can fold the tabs in, and then we can tuck in this rounded flap. Perfect fit. Now, if that was a tight fit trying to tuck in the flap, you can always trim off just a little bit from the sides there, but this one actually is cut just right. And those 1/16 of an inch increments are so that these 2 boxes can fold in here without fighting for space. It really does make a difference. I tried it the other way and I just didn't like the way that it turned out. So that is the basics of the double folded box. So very cute. And what a really cool gift box for the recipient. All right, so now the next thing I'm gonna do, this is our front box here. I'm actually gonna tie a ribbon around this. What's nice about the fact that there's these 2 boxes and just a little bit of a gap between the 2 is I can then feed ribbon through that and tie a bow for the front. So I've got this beautiful Magenta Madness in color ribbon, and I am just gonna focus on this box itself and go ahead and tie a bow. I do have a pair of reverse tweezers that are going to help me hold that knot. All right, such a cute little bow. Let's go ahead and close the box here. And one trick I like to do is to grab a mini glue dot, and then we'll hide that underneath the knot of the bow, and that kind of keeps that bow right where we want it to stay. So bringing back the lacy petals dies again, I've cut 2 of the large flower from Bumblebee cardstock and 1 of the small flower. But look at the detail on these flowers, so beautiful. I'm gonna take my bone folder to add a little bit of dimension to these by just gently curling the petals. And I'm gonna take a pair of dimensionals and place 1 in the center of each of the large flowers. I'm gonna start by peeling off the backings, and then I'm gonna stagger those petals on the 2 large flowers. And then I'll stagger the petals again on the small flower. Then I'm going to grab a large rhinestone, and that's going to hide the dimensional that's peeking through there. But look at how beautiful and intricate that flower is. I love this. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue and just put a little circle of glue around the base of that flower, and we'll glue that to the lid of our double folded box. And there we have this really cool double folded box. I love the way it looks with the Misty Moonlight and the Flowers for Every Season Designer Series paper paired with Magenta Madness and Bumblebee flowers. Such a cool box with a little hidden sentiment on the inside. Thanks again to Brigitte Seidler for the inspiration. I love this double folded box. What a really cool gift for someone. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss my next video. If you're interested in purchasing any of the Stampin' Up! Products I used today, they'll be linked in the description. And I'll also include a link to my detailed blog post with all project measurements, details, and a picture of the template. I'd love to have you come visit me at thepaperpixie.com, where I post projects every weekday to inspire you. And if you don't want to miss a thing, you can subscribe to receive blog updates via email, and you'll receive an email each time I publish a new post. You can shop with me anytime at thepaperpixie.com/shop. And if you're interested in a discount on your Stampin' Up! Purchases, the starter kit is the ultimate bundle, and it's a great way to fill your wish list for less. You can purchase the starter kit at thepaperpixie.com/join, and I'd love to welcome you to the Stampin' Up! Family and my team of Paper Pixies. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you'd like complimentary copies of our current catalogs, you can submit a catalog request at thepaperpixie.com/happymail. And if you give this project a try, I'd love to see what you made, so feel free to share it on social media with the hashtag #PaperPixie, and I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care. Bye.